Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. Yes, as am I. I'm so glad you're here. This is episode 65. My name is Evan Lewis, and of course I'm joined by the people who've already interrupted me. That was Joe Latovsky. And
I didn't interrupt you.
Happy
this
to be
time.
here.
I didn't interrupt you this time, so you can't get mad at me.
Nope, I'm not. You're a good boy, Leo. That's Leo Andry, in case you didn't get that through all the hullabaloo. Okay, sweet. So we're all here, we're all back, we're ready to go. And of course we have to give special thank yous to all of our patrons. You're all amazing. We have plans for the future because of you. Because of you, we have a future. It's like Terminator 2. There's no future except what you make, and you're making the future. So thank you to all the patrons who have contributed time and energy and their thoughts and prayers over at patreon.com/thejodocast. And if you want to become a part of that, we'd love to have you. That'd be awesome. You're the best. Preemptively. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Let's start with Leo.
Well, I've been playing some
Is that
Destiny.
the sound of a randomizer?
That was like on Wheel of Fortune.
Oh.
Leo.
Spin the wheel of fish.
You can hold on to your red snapper.
Oh,
You're so stupid! What were we? What have
I
I
don't
been
know.
playing?
I don't even
Besides
know.
Wheel of Fish. Destiny has been, although I was starting to test some decks for regionals that are coming up. Of course, that's all become a waste of time. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on that too.
And just still killing time in Galaxy Heroes.
Wow.
I got Thrawn unlocked now though, so now I'm safe to quit at any time.
But still, this is like the longest you've spent on a Star Wars mobile game, isn't it?
Yeah, but part of the reason I've spent that long on it because so Force Arena, you kind of actually have to play it, and it's not that fun.
Okay.
And Galaxy Heroes really isn't that fun either, but you don't have to play it. You just every now and then look over and you just kind of just tap your screen. I mean, you just turn the fights on auto and then you come back later and you're like, oh look, I've unlocked Thrawn. Hooray. And so that's all. It's just a collecting simulator.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So that's if the game required more interaction from me, I probably would have uninstalled it a long time ago.
It's not yelling at you for not getting on like the other one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also because I do, well, even when I don't play for much, it doesn't yell at me now that I think about it, but so it's not, it doesn't have as many offensive notifications as some of these other games did.
Well, fantastic. If that's all for you, how about Joe?
got in a little bit of Imperial Assault. There's a new video up for that where we tried out the new stuff from Heart of the Empire. I don't think we've recorded since I did that, so that's fun. The video was fun. It was all the lightsaber wielding people, essentially. Now that we've got Ahsoka in the mix, wanted to try that out. Going to hopefully be blasting through the rest of our Jabba's Realm campaign this weekend because we play so irregularly where we're like, screw it, let's pick a weekend and try and dedicate the whole day to finishing this campaign. So we'll see how that goes. And then I got in some Destiny last weekend. I was in the Twin Cities for a wedding, and so we went over to Fantasy Flight Games Center and played a couple games of Destiny, and I got my butt kicked.
Wah, wah.
My lists weren't that good anyways. And I picked up a couple things for the RPG that I've been looking for that they had there because they have everything there.
Really?
Just a couple of those
The adversary decks?
the decks that you don't really
Nice.
need, but Yeah, there was an adversary deck I was missing, and I picked up a Bounty Hunter abilities deck because I wanted to.
Yeah, because Bounty Hunter.
Well, and stores just don't sell those because nobody buys them.
Yeah. So actually, question for you about Imperial Assault, because what do you do when you're painting your lightsaber wielding guys? You do something pretty cool with the lightsabers, don't you?
I cut off the lightsaber and replace it with I don't know what you want to call it, an acrylic fluorescent rod that I glue on, which look cool because they're, see-through and they catch light.
Yeah, they look fantastic. Where do you get those?
I have bought mine from recreatorstudios.com, which is where I get most of my tokens for Imperial Assault, because I really like his designs, and he also happens to have those acrylic rods in his store, although they tend to sell out fast.
What if you could find them at some... You could probably find them at some hobby stores or something like that, too.
I don't know.
Like a
I
Michael's?
had a hard time finding any before he started stocking them.
Huh.
But I'm sure there's obviously other places to get them, but I don't know where.
All the pictures that you take of your lightsaber wielding guys, that just adds a whole nother dimension to it. And I just have no clue how you've been doing it. I just didn't know where you got the materials from, all that stuff. It's just, I'm easily impressed by good painting. So, good job on that.
So you're saying they're bad?
No, I'm saying they're amazing. But then I think everyone's painting job is amazing because I haven't done it myself. So,
what's the diameter on those rods that you get?
Let me check. Because I cut off the plastic one, and then I lay it next to the rod and cut the rod to the same length, and then I use a file to round off the edge of the rod. 50 millimeters?
50 millimeters.
That's not the diameter, it's the length of them. It doesn't actually say on the website. The problem is, wait a minute. Oh, never mind. He's got red, green, and blue. See, I don't know what to do for Ahsoka, because I can't use any of those colors. So she has white. I did purple. I gave y'all a purple one. I just used a blue one, and then I put a purple wash over it to make it purple.
I don't know. You can find clear ones like all over the place.
Oh, good, because I need clear ones. But
Yeah,
I don't know what the diameter is on these.
Like this side here sells, you can get them in like 1/16 of an inch diameter, 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch. I mean, you get 10 6-foot long rods for $7. That's a lot. I mean, and even if they're clear, you could use them for the other ones. Like I've seen people who've used clear ones and then like colored the clear rods with like a Sharpie or something like that.
Well, yeah, or just like I can use just one of the Citadel shades, because that's what I did for Dial, and it seemed to be fine. It's a little less shiny and probably catches less light when you do that, as opposed to just getting the colored one. And I still got, because they come in sets of 5.
Yeah.
So I've still got plenty of, because each one is probably good for about 2 blades, because they're pretty long.
Yeah, and this was like just after searching for just a little bit. I'm sure if you looked around, you could find them in the right size and other colors easily too.
Yeah, I just think that's really cool. And if I had the time and inclination, I would totally follow in your footsteps.
I will totally be doing that when Legion comes out with my Luke invaders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you probably won't have too many lightsabers to worry about with Legion, at least for a little while. Unless you get multiple Lukes and paint him up for different environments, if at all possible. Anyways, so for me, what I've been playing, not a lot of Star Wars, although the other day I did test my Destiny decks against each other, just playing against myself, and that was all that it took to get me interested in Destiny again, because for whatever reason, like when I'm away from Destiny, I am not at all excited by it. It just seems like they're cranking out cards and I'm out of the loop and I don't care. and I just won LCG, and I'm not going to get it, and the world is crumbling. But then I go back and play Destiny, and I'm like, this game is so incredibly fun. I'm going to buy all the packs. And so I did. I went out and bought more packs, and then had my hopes and dreams crushed by getting pretty much nothing except a second Leia to give me Elite
Which is
Leia.
Not much.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to buy some paints the other day and bought a pack on a whim with my paints and pulled a Thrawn out of it, so that was cool.
Oh, okay. I hate you. That's great.
So that gave me my second Thrawn. So
Are you kidding
When I
me?
was in Minneapolis, I grabbed a pack and got a third Grand Inquisitor, so I just traded that to John for, like, I don't know, a whole bunch of rares I didn't have, so now my sets are a lot more full than they used to be.
I just paused my mic so I could slam my head on the desk. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. This is just like the last few sets of Magic that I bought into. Can't get anything.
Just gotta know how to pick them.
Apparently, I don't have a ritual for picking good packs. I'm just like, yeah, I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
yeah, you see, you gotta shake them. The legendary dice rattle around in their packages a little bit differently than the rare ones.
Well, and they also sink to the bottom of the box, right? Because they're heavier.
Uh-huh.
Okay. See, I didn't do that.
Though I feel like they do actually. Like when I buy entire boxes, okay, it seems like I will be opening my packs and I won't hit any legendaries until I'm like in the bottom quarter of the box.
Okay.
So, see, the trick is, if you're not buying a whole box, only pull packs from newly opened or almost full boxes, okay?
Okay.
That'll up your odds. I'm telling you, the
Perfect.
system works.
All right. I hope everyone's taking notes. So yeah, so I'm back on the Destiny bandwagon. I'm totally gonna buy a bunch more packs until I get discouraged again and don't get to play for a while. So maybe I can tolerate the death of LCG.
Well, we can
shall
always
see.
play. We can always play on Tabletop Simulator if you can't find anyone local.
Then you can play with all the cards that you
don't
pull.
have.
That's true. I have not spent much time at all on Tabletop Simulator, and I really need to.
I guess if we ever see those mods get, like, taken down by the copyright holders, then that'll give us an idea of what Fantasy Flight Interactive plans on doing.
If they're gonna make it.
Well, there's obviously a market for digital versions of these games because people play them like crazy, but that's not our discussion topic for today.
Yeah, not until we have a bit more info and it's not just us guessing. But we are going to roll straight into getting an update on all things Destiny, because it's been a while since we talked about it. There's lots of other podcasts that cover it weekly, but we haven't talked about it much lately, and there's a lot, to say the least. And the first thing that we'll get started with, let's talk about, I guess we'll start with the next wave of cards, including new starters. And with this new wave, are we going to call them waves or just sets, like in the Magic the Gathering? Or are we going to stick with the Star Wars FFG, talking about waves? How do we want to do it? It's our choice.
Well, I mean, each set is its own set, but I don't know if they call the blocks, because that's like in Magic, it's a block.
That's true. And it seems like at least the graphic design on Awakenings and Rebellion,
Empire at War all followed like the same design. So we'll call that the Awakenings block. Now we're onto the Legacies block.
Aha, I like this. Okay, great. So there you go.
They
So
call 'em
Legacies
sets.
brings us.
Fantasy Flight Games was proud to announce Legacies, a new 160 card booster set.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Each individual one is called a set, but like as a whole, we had
There's three sets in a block.
Yeah.
And then 3 blocks in a too much money.
And the first thing we want to talk about, at least that I want to talk about, is a new die face. And this guy sounds pretty interesting. The indirect damage die face.
Yeah, so indirect damage is you will deal, obviously whatever the value of your damage is on your die, but it's up to the opponent to distribute it however they wish amongst their characters. So it's a little bit weaker than other types of damage, in that respect.
That means the value you're going to see on it is going to be bigger.
Yeah, at least that's the way it seems like on at least most of the cards they've shown so far, is that the indirect damage values seem like they tend to be a little bit higher than the regular damage values, or at least a higher indirect damage value won't cost as many points on a card or be as expensive as a card as something with a straight melee or straight range damage of that same value would have.
And I like this new mechanic because it's going to introduce a whole nother, not mechanic, but I guess design space, where in Magic we talk about combat damage and non-combat damage, incidental damage that's not just from punching someone in the face, and then you have a lot more ways to work around that, both with the damaging and with the damage prevention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and kind of an interesting thing about indirect damage is it seems like it gets a little more powerful as the game goes on, because like if you have 3 characters, 4 characters out there, I guess in some cases with some decks, there's a lot of different characters for you to spread that damage out on, but as you start to eliminate targets, those higher values start to hurt more because you have less characters to spread that damage around.
And some of the first characters that we get to see this in action on are ones that we're seeing pretty frequently now in FFG, and they're comic book original characters. In this case, it's Dr. Aphra from the Vader comic and her own title. And then one of her 2 droids that are often with her, BT-1, the evil R2. And both of them have some really interesting uses.
Although BT-1's a support, not a character, but...
True. Good point. But these 2 cards are definitely made to interact with each other. There's, it's one of those design combos by design. They're meant to work together, because Aphra can decrease the cost of the first droid to play each round by 1, and then when indirect damage is dealt to yourself, you can draw a card, and that's exactly what BT-1 does.
It's after you deal indirect damage to yourself.
Yes.
Which is not nearly as... So it's really, as the moment, I'm sure there'll be other ways of doing it to yourself. But, yeah, only BT could trigger that.
So, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be lots of event cards that will do that, too.
It's weird to me that BT has melee sides and not ranged sides.
That is true.
Yeah, it's a little
I didn't think
odd.
about that, but...
Well, and he goes from 1 melee to 3 melee for a cost of 1 credit. So it's just like, okay.
I just don't get... Why does he not... He's, made of guns.
That's true. You would think the melee would belong to 000 when he shows up. But in any event, indirect damage should be interesting, especially as it's applied on a more regular basis. Actually, I'm wondering if this is one of those things that we might see show up in one block and then be gone in the next. Because they haven't really addressed evergreen keywords, have they? Versus set or block keywords or abilities.
And now you're talking Magic from way after I quit playing.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
So
there is keywords that have been persistent throughout all of it, like Guardian.
Right, and so that would be an evergreen one. That would be one that sticks around through the whole thing. But are we going to see new ones pop up that might be around for a couple of sets and then they're gone? Because I don't think they've talked about that in anything that I've read. I just didn't know if that was something that they were exploring, if they were just going to keep on piling on these new keywords until they had too many.
Well,
It's just something I'm curious about.
I don't think we're going to see too many more new die faces than what we've got right now.
Right.
I have a hunch we'll see a couple new ones.
I mean, yeah, a couple new ones, but I'm like I said, I don't think we're going to see a ton of new die faces. More keywords, yeah, I could see that happening, though, definitely.
Well, because we've got a new keyword coming up called power actions, and you can only do these once per round. And we see an example of this in the new Luke, who is one of the static built-in cards you're going to get in the new starter set. And basically, you can spend resources to resolve one of that character's die or upgrades by a value. So I don't know if it's always going to be 1-to-1, spend 2 resources to raise by 2, or if it's
it says spend 2 resources to resolve it and increase the value by 2.
So when we see that on other folks, will it always be a 1-to-1 ratio, or is it going to differ? Is going to be different?
Well, no, because I mean they're not always going to do that. I mean their actions are going to be different. Like Wedge just says turn one of your vehicle die to any side. There's no values or anything there.
Interesting.
Yeah, power action doesn't mean the resource to up a damage thing. Power action just means whatever your power action is can only be done once a round.
Yeah, it's basically a special type of action. You know, like some cards say action, do this thing. This is a power action, which means you can only do it once a round, whereas if it just said action, do a thing, you could do it as many times in a round as you wanted.
Got it.
As long as there was the conditions to do that action or whatever were met, you know.
Yep. Okay, and the next thing we have to look at is a new type of card. And this one's really interesting. This was a design space that I hadn't really given too much thought to, although do they kind of do something with fielding lower team point totals in the other games? They do an X-Wing, right, at least? Do they do that in...
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, like an X-Wing, if you have a lower point total for your team than the other squad, you know, you can get initiative.
This is what I've been waiting for in this game, because for the while because it feels like a huge waste just to be 1 or 2 points shy of 30, and I always thought, oh, maybe just when you're rolling off to choose the battlefield, just add a point to your total for each thing under 30 you are. But this is way better than that, because now it's just a way to fill up those points that actually give you a benefit for having dead points in your list.
This is way better than the like. You know, like some stuff we had talked about is like, what if they put like B1 battle droids in there and they're just really awful? Like they only fill up like 2 or 3 points in your squad, but like they have like 3 blank sides on the die or something, or 4 blank sides or something like that. You know, I like the idea of plot cards way more than that.
Yeah, and the 2 that we see are, for 1 point, espionage, just after setup, you burn the top card off of each deck. And the other one, for 3 points, you start the game with an additional resource.
Which, you put that with, you know, like Lando, and you're starting the game with 4 resources right off the bat, which is awesome.
That's really good.
If you've got like well, you wouldn't have a slave 1, I guess, if you were playing with Lando. Unless it was like a draft or sealed type thing, I guess. But, you know, there's other 4-cost supports or upgrades you could have in your hand to start off with. That would just be crazy to play right away turn 1.
Well, we already mentioned the new Luke that shows up in the Heroes starter deck.
What I am curious about with the starter decks, because the original starter decks came with Elite Rey, Single Die Finn, Elite Kylo, 1 Stormtrooper. The 2-player set that came out in September had only 1 copy of everything, which initially was kind of annoying, but on second thought I like a lot better, because you're going to buy 2 anyways. Now you're not going to have any extra stuff. With the original starters, you kind of had to buy 2, but once you bought 2, you had extra crap that you didn't want. Like extra ray dice that you were never going to need. So I'm hoping that these new starters only have 1 copy of everything, but that's hard to tell because, if more casual players probably only want to buy 1 of these. And they might want...
It's Fantasy Flight.
I'm curious.
It's Fantasy Flight. You're going to have to buy 2.
Well, I'm saying...
Too bad.
You're going to have to, but I'm wondering how annoying it's going to be because the first set is really annoying to have to buy 2 because I got extras. And the 2-player box, it was nice to have to buy 2 and have no extra crap. So I'm wondering what method they're going with this time.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be nice, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, even if they only put 1 of each card in there, then when you go and you buy your packs, you're still going to end up with extra. So,
well, are all of the starter cards this time fixed? Like in the 2-player box?
I doubt it. Well, I mean, I'm sure they'll be fixed, but I doubt that, just like the first starters were, but they're not going to all be starter only.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
just like in the first starters, only 4 or 5 cards in each box were starter only, and all the rest were from the regular Awakening set.
Yeah, I think that's right. And just looking at the point and values of Boba Fett and the veteran Stormtrooper, I have to believe it's going to be double Boba and single Stormtrooper, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be totally wrong. And then, just like with...
do giveaways where
Can you do double Boba?
What do you mean?
Oh wait, yeah, no, never mind. I was I had a brain fart, and I was doubling the point value as as if you had 2 Bobas out there, and I was you can't fit a Stormtrooper in with 2 Boba Fetts.
I mean, just wait until they have an event card that says clone Boba Fett, and then you can bring out a second Boba Fett character onto the field, and you've got 2 Bobas of the same quality. Because clones. Because that's a thing. No, it's not. I'm full of crap. And then, I was trying to get a feel for if we'd get Elite Luke and then single Han. And, I mean, looking at the point totals, Elite Luke would be a 14, and then single Han is an 11, so it's only 25. I mean, that seems like a starter right there. And you got to buy it again so you can get double Han. Although I don't know how we feel about these new versions. I'm sure they're much more balanced and ready for the future.
I like the new version of Han.
Being able to re-roll your opponent's die whenever you activate Han is awesome.
Yeah, that's.
I like that. I like what I'm seeing with the new version of Obi-Wan.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh my.
He's not from the starter, but sure.
Right.
We weren't talking about this. We were talking about the starter, Joe. Jeez. But as long as we're on it,
of Boba Fett.
that Obi-Wan plus his lightsaber is gonna be awesome. Well, actually, just in general, Obi-Wan's lightsaber in any kind of Jedi shield deck is gonna be nuts. Especially now that shields are useful again. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking if I could pull up Rey from the 2-player box again, because she's all about the shields.
Mm-hmm.
If you throw Obi-Wan's lightsaber on her, and because I got to get the exact wording right, but I don't know, maybe they're confirming that she's a Kenobi. No, they're not. I'm just making crap up. But it'd be funny. One of these seconds, I'll be able to pull her card up and actually talk about it, but it's okay. We'll move on.
This is when she activates. If she has a shield, she can do a damage.
Yep, you're right. But still, that's pretty good. Or just throw it on original.
Oh, and
Rey.
the flavor text.
That's good enough.
The flavor text on Obi-Wan just says "your move," so you can say that every time it's your opponent's turn.
But then you're obligated.
When you played the CCG and you were supposed to tell your opponent the Force is with you when it was their turn.
Well, I think you just have to say a line from one of the characters you're playing.
But then when you sit down to play the game, you have to say, "Hello there," and brush your hair to the side, as he does. And then, of course, if you're playing Grievous, you have to respond in kind. But
I'm just really happy that Boba Fett is fixed in the starter, because
that way you don't have to try and pull him as a legendary.
Cad Bane, Chopper, and Ahsoka were all legendaries, which is annoying.
It was it was like giving you ulcers worrying about not getting them.
But yeah, I'm happy that Boba Fett's just fixed. And once he comes out, then I'm Crimson Corsair. But there's no way that guy's going to be legendary.
No, but
if he's ever in this game.
I think there's a good chance he'll be in this game. I think there's a pretty good chance.
I think there's a decent chance, but he might even be in Legacies.
Yeah.
Because we got Bazine in the last one. So
yeah, true. There you go. Maybe someday we'll even get, what was his name? Casterfo from Bloodlines.
Oh.
I liked him.
Casterflo? I don't know. A lot of those names you just, recognize as a symbol without bothering to try and pronounce it.
Yes. It's just like every character from R.A. Salvatore. It's like you don't try to pronounce those names. You just read them.
You just recognize it when it
Exactly, yep. So that's our first little look at the Legacies block, to include the starter and the packs and whatever else shall follow. A bunch more has been spoiled, but we've got more to talk about, unless there's anything else we wanted to mention on this line.
No, I think that covers most of the major points of what we've seen so far.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So this is one that a lot of people have been trying to figure out how to do since the game came out, and I'm really interested in this because I love limited Magic, the limited format of sealed deck and draft. I'm better at sealed, but I still like drafting. And now we have an official way to draft and do sealed for Destiny. And both ways include a draft box. So just right off the bat, what were your initial reactions to, we have a draft format, we have a sealed format, and there's a box that goes with it, like a set group of cards that go with it?
I'm excited about it. I think there's going to be a couple weird things about it that don't happen with games like Magic when you're drafting. Sealed deck will probably be fine. I think the draft is still going to be a little weird, even with the draft box.
It will be very weird. I can't imagine cracking a pack, gathering up all the cracking 3 packs.
Yeah, you crack 3 packs.
Put them together, and you've got the dice sitting there, like everyone knows which dice you have, and then you pass.
Or I want to grab the cards with the dice attached to them first, even if it might not be the best for my deck. I'm like, I don't have that.
Absolutely.
I want that.
See,
yes,
I feel like
that's exactly what you do.
See, the thing is, I feel like in a draft is, unless it's like the biggest upgrade card or support card ever, you're probably going to want to grab a dice card always. The first 3 passes, you're probably going to be grabbing a dice card. I would imagine almost at least 80% of the time. That's going to be your first 3 drafts always. Which is why I think the drafting is going to be a little strange.
Mm-hmm. Because very rarely are you going to be like, ooh, I cracked a Vader, oh crap, and I cracked a Veers, oh crap, and I cracked a Poe. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Instead, you're more likely to be like, oh crap, I just cracked 3 thermal grenades.
And a data
or
pad.
Infantry grenades. And
if...
maybe then you would not. Maybe if that was the case, you would then not draft your dice card. But
Did it say whether or not, if you're in those events, if all of the boosters have to come from the same set? I assume not. But
I think it's probably going to it's probably going to depend on the format for that particular event.
Yeah.
Usually with a draft, you're just drafting from one set. You're not going to or you might be drafting from a block.
From a block, yeah.
You know, like maybe so for a draft here, you'd be buying 6 packs. So maybe you buy 2 Awakenings, 2 Spirit of Rebellion, and 2 Empire at War. But given the way that like the dice system with the characters and stuff works with this, I feel like that's going to dilute way too much, and you're always going to want to buy
that.
You're always going to want to buy. Have all your drafting from one set. Otherwise, nobody's going to be able to play elite characters ever.
True.
And that's the exact ratio that I bought the other day, where I got almost nothing. So I'm determined to stick to a single line when I'm going to buy a whole bunch. And exactly, you're diluting your chances of getting what you want.
But so the biggest thing now with this draft pack is, so the way it's going to work is if you're doing a draft, you have your rivals draft box, and then you also buy 6 packs that you'll draft
have to buy
from.
the draft box, or can I like bring my rivals thing in?
I was wondering that too.
No, once you buy one, you have it because the cards are always the same.
Right.
So as long as you have as long as you've bought the draft pack at least once, you're good for every draft event and sealed deck event from now until. I mean, I imagine probably with the next block, they'll probably release another draft pack for that block, but that's a different story. So, and then if you're doing a sealed deck, it's the same thing. You got your draft pack, plus then you would get 8 packs. But the nice thing is it comes with 4 hero characters in that draft box. So even if you don't end up getting any heroes in your boosters, you can still make a deck, luckily.
Which was the original issue with people trying to do drafts and stuff, because it's like, well, what if I don't pull any characters?
Yeah.
And that's sort of how the one draft event or sealed event I played in, that was like the remedy was, well, you pick a dark side or a light side starter after you open your stuff, and you can use the starter to supplement it, which is essentially what this is, but more tailored to the needs of the format.
Yeah. So the 4 heroes that come in it are actually, they're neutral heroes. They're not, or neutral characters rather. They're not heroes. They're not villains. They're the first neutral characters we've gotten in the game, and we've got a neutral Anakin. We've got Lobot. We've got Ketso Onyo from Rebels. Which, by the way, I'm really sad that the art has her wearing her stupid-looking helmet, because in the history of stupid-looking helmets in Star Wars, that is one of the stupidest-looking helmets. And the really unique
I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, it is horrid. You have no taste, Joe.
In helmets.
Certainly not one of my favorite helmets by a mile, but I don't look at it and go, ugh.
But one of the other really unique things about this is that it comes with a gray character, which is a Jawa who only costs 6 points. So you can use him to fill little holes in your lineup. You know, if you're playing with a couple of non-elite characters, then you can also slot in this Jawa to get you up closer to that 30. But the other nice thing with the draft and sealed format is it lets you ignore hero and villain restrictions. So you can kind of go to town no matter what it is that you're drafting.
And number of copy restrictions too, right?
Yes, that is true. So you can have as many as you want. If you draft, I guess, 6 Force Lightnings, you can play with 6 Force Lightnings in your deck.
It occurred to me that the best case would be for the Seeker droids, but the odds of you actually pulling more than 2 is not
I just you buy 8 packs and all 8 for your sealed deck are all the Seeker droids.
I still feel like that card should have had some caveat that said you could have a maximum of 3 of these in your deck. But what do I know?
What do you know?
And also, kind of obvious, the rival set, you could play that in regular tournaments and regular formats too. It's not like this is... You can only bust this out if you're doing a sealed or draft event.
And the character cards themselves are not bad by any means. They're like you said, they're not limited to limited formats. They are just good cards in general. The new Anakin, you can't have Vader on the same team, obviously, but again, he's loving giving shields or dealing damage.
I feel like he's probably of the four characters that come in the box. I feel like he's probably the best, in my opinion.
Well, he's definitely designed to flourish in the sealed and draft because he can work out of it because it's if you discard a hero card, you can give 2 shields. If you discard a villain card, you can deal 2 damage. Well, the only instance where you'll ever be able to do either or is in a sealed or draft when you're allowed to have hero and villain cards in your deck at the same time.
Yeah, but he still works outside of it because if you're in a hero deck with a blue hero deck, a lot of times your focus tends to be on shields. That's sort of
and then putting him with new Obi-Wan.
Yes.
Anakin.
Oh, that's sick. I love it. Let's do it forever. Sorry, I just got really excited about that. That's fantastic.
You could do.
He's 10, 13. Yeah, Obi-Wan is 15, 19.
So you could do Elite Obi-Wan and Anakin, or the other way around. Elite Anakin and regular Obi-Wan.
And you'd have a point left over for a plot card.
So, and then besides the characters, it comes with a whole other... I think the total number is 20 cards or so in the box. Or was it 30? 20 or 30 cards, and they're all neutral, so you can use them no matter what you're doing. And, so it's just there to supplement whatever you get from the packs you buy. And then, like I was saying before, you bring it to the next event... your Rivals box, and it's good to go for every one of your draft and sealed deck events.
And I do want to address that really quick, because when this was announced, I was watching someone on YouTube talking about it, and they were concerned about what the price per event was going to be. But now that we've said that once you have the box, once you have the Rivals box set, you're good to go to bring that back to every single event of this type. So you pay, what do we think for this box? $15 maybe?
I'm guessing
should be 15.
I'm guessing it. Well, it might be a little bit more because it is a
20.
There is a little
20.
bit more cards than you get in like a starter.
Oh.
So I would say probably more like 20. Yeah,
15, 20, somewhere in there. So you pay that one time, and you can use these cards in Constructed and in Limited. So then you bring it to your Limited event, and the price differential is almost...
hold on.
Uh-oh, what? Did I do my math wrong?
No, I can look at the price as soon as this loads.
Oh,
Okay.
Did they have it? Did they have it
Keep
up?
talking. If you just click the link at the bottom of that page...
It does. Does it have the pre-ordering? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or it's right at the top of the page.
Is it?
Or it showed up for me in the related products section. Apparently, the Rivals draft set is a related product.
Oh, hey, look at that. $15.
Yep,
right
15
there.
bucks.
Look at that on the website. Investigative journalists. We are not. So $15 that is usable everywhere. It's great cards. So then you go to your event, and your draft is 6 packs for $3 a piece. Coming around with tax, somewhere around 18, a little bit in there. And then compare that to a Magic draft where all you buy is 3 packs. Okay, so that's, it's going to range anywhere from 12 to 15 depending if your store has a little bit of overhead cost in there. But that's not a bad differential.
What if you're doing a Modern Masters draft?
Oh, geez. Then you're talking at least like what, $5? $6 more per pack? because you're getting all those crazy-ass cards that you can crack a foil on that and you're set for life. You can pay off your student loans with one of those things. Foil fetch lands. So then you look at sealed. So a sealed Magic is 6 packs at $4, and that's 24. A sealed Star Wars is 8 packs for 3, that's 24. So the price differential between them becomes non-existent once you have that Rivals draft or limited box. So any questions that I had about the viability of limited format in here is kind of gone away, and I'm actually super excited for this now.
My only concern is you might end up seeing a lot of mirror matches.
Yeah.
Or I mean, because
people aren't pulling.
Because there's always going to be good odds that you're gonna crack open 8 packs, and you might get all upgrades and supports and no characters.
And I've never done this sort of thing in other games, but let's say I'm at the point where I am at now, where my collection, until the next set comes out, probably is going to be growing. I've kind of got it to where I want it. I'm going to go to a draft, and I'm going to keep opening crap that I already own and just accumulating more and more extras that just sit there and make me feel wasteful. Is that going to be a thing? Like, should I only play the drafts before I've, fleshed out my collection?
You either use them for trades or or maybe I think at least with Magic they tend to be 2 different kinds of players. There's the players who they do the constructed and they're getting all their cards, and that's what they do, and it's not always the same players who are playing drafts, because you kind of have to think and play a little bit differently in a limited format versus constructed, and the two don't always cross translate. You know what I mean? So
right, and I kind of like the idea of a draft appeals more to me because you can't make the best thing or the most meta thing unless you get really lucky with your draws, which means people are building a little bit more on the seat of their pants, which means the things you're going to play with and against aren't going to be the best, and it's going to be a lot more kind of creative and fun, at least in my expectation. So I'm just going to have to figure out if maybe I want to switch entirely to draft events if that's actually going to be happening regularly around me, because, like I said, it would kind of annoy me if I had to keep buying stuff I already had randomly.
See, for me, if depending on when Legacies comes out, I might only buy 2 boxes instead of 3, and then kind of see how prevalent sealed and draft events end up being. And then if we don't end up doing them a lot, well then whatever. I'll pick up a 3rd box and round out most of my collection that way. But if we are doing it on a semi-regular basis, then I'm just gonna use those packs to keep filling out my collection, to kind of take the place of that 3rd box that I normally would have bought.
Because your card pool with a draft is going to be much wider than just buying the same number of packs yourself. So you're going to see a lot more filter through that you might not normally, just from cracking packs. And if there's garbage, then you can give it away to somebody else while you're sitting right there after you're done. And actually, I'm looking forward to watching drafting of this. Whenever I watch the Magic Pro Tour, that's one of the most enjoyable things, is watching someone draft, because you're like, ooh, pick that one, and they pick something completely different, and you're like, why did you pick that? It's its own game.
And then they're like,
because
itself. I'm a pro.
Yes, exactly, because they know what's going on and you don't, and then you learn when the experts are like, I picked that on pack 2, pick 5, because it has this. And I'm like, oh, That's a whole new thing I hadn't considered. That's awesome. Oh, I'm getting really excited for this now.
Yeah, the only thing I think is weird is the whole, like, cracking 3 packs at once in the draft. Because, I mean, with Magic, don't you just crack 1 pack at a time and you go round robin passing the packs around?
Yeah, so pack 1 is just 15 cards passed to the left. Pack 2 passed to the right. Pack 3 passed to the left. And here you've got 3 packs that you unpack all at the same time, stack them together, and then you pick your 1 and pass. And then the second set is pick 1 and pass to the right.
Yeah, so... But I suppose that's to give you a choice of dice, is what I'm guessing. Otherwise, like I said, if you were just opening 1 pack at a time, you're probably going to look at and say, I'll take the dice.
You're going to take the die.
Yeah.
So if you get a Vader, a Poe, and a data pad, like, I'll take one of the first 2. You can have, and then the next guy takes the other one, and then the third guy gets data pad. That's fair. Or maybe the data pad just gets passed around and around and around.
Data pad has its uses too, sometimes.
I suppose it does.
Anyways, so that's drafting. That's how we're going to do drafting and sealed here in the near future. Let's see, I think what is this scheduled for sometime in the... Have they even said if it's like first quarter or...
I think so. I think it's first quarter. Scroll
I bet this is like the price where we can speculate or we can just go check.
Right.
Well, I just looked at the... Well, I have the Rivals article open and I looked at the bottom and it doesn't say there, so...
What about the product?
Oh.
Does it say under, like, I would be surprised if this didn't come out alongside the Legacies stuff.
Well, yeah, it's gonna launch at pretty much the same time Legacies, and that doesn't really say when either that I can see, so... But I'm gonna guess sometime here in the first quarter, so... And that's a pretty broad amount of time, so I feel pretty safe saying that.
Yeah, so that's going to be great. And one kind of just a side piece of Destiny news that came out was that they're bringing out their own binders to keep your dice in.
Seriously, who thought this was a good idea?
I'll tell you who. The same person who came up with the RPG playmat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's probably is the same who designed this.
Like, I could see maybe if it was... Because it's 44 dice, 44 sleeved cards.
Yeah, why?
Like, what if you made it smaller so it's like 35 sleeved cards and 20 dice or something? So you could maybe use it as like, I'm bringing my deck to a tournament.
Yeah.
You can't... With the way it is now, it's like, I'm bringing a deck and a half or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Or why not make it big enough to fit 2 decks in there? It would have just been like a little bit more space.
Ooh,
But
you
no.
know what this could
so
be?
what we were talking about made me think maybe you could use it for draft stuff. Because I can put all the content of my Rivals box in it. Because how many cards were in that? 30 or something? I can put all those cards in there. I can put all the dice in there. And now when I bring my Rivals to a tournament, I just bring this binder instead of my much cheaper, equally usable little cardboard deck box I have. Mm-hmm. And then I guess all the new cards, if it's sealed, I'll end up with extra stuff I don't need. That can also get slotted in the binder to transport it home and then put it in my real collection. So that's the only thing I could think of maybe using this for.
Plus, like the dice holders look like the same like cheap plastic that's in like the starter boxes or the 2-player set. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I'm not
the same like vacuum form things
Yeah.
from the starter sets and the 2-player.
I'm not convinced that I will ever want one of these stupid things.
Unless we get, maybe get one free and we can review it.
I don't think they'd want us to review it because I think we just reviewed it. Unless something like it's like velvet, and you're like,
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're listening and they're like, no, guys, you got it all wrong, and then they send us one, and then we'll be like, oh wow, this is amazing. You put your dice, you put your dice in here, and you will always roll the best side on it from now on.
Are you willing to take that? I think Fantasy Flight should take that chance and send us some of these binders to look at.
It's actually rich Corinthian leather on the outside. So hooray, binders! Whee!
So yeah,
Well, it does say 44 sleeved cards, which means if you're not sleeving your cards, maybe you can fit 2 decks, and also you're a monster.
Yeah, but you.
You know, I was gonna say maybe this is gonna be. They made it this size because they're gonna introduce sideboards, but considering how long a match lasts, you probably don't have time for 2 games within one match, during which time you could sideboard, right?
It depends. If you get stomped in the face by Cad Bane Phasma right away and you die on round 2, then there you go.
Yeah, time to sideboard.
I think this just whoever's making their products doesn't play the games. Otherwise, they'd have known to make it a different size.
I think that's probably the most likely.
Yeah, maybe.
Goodness.
For all we know, maybe like the Destiny designers saw this come out and they were also like, "The f- is this?"
That's right.
Oh
it's
my god, this is the
Asmodee.
worst. This is the worst thing ever. But you like have to like be supportive. Sort of like when I worked at Microsoft and like we had to use Bing. It was all like don't use Google and don't ever don't ever say to a customer that you're like Googling something. You have to say that you're Binging it.
I'm just gonna Bing that. Give me 1 second. Everyone knows Bing.
Okay, Amazing Spider-Man.
They even had shirts that said "Let me Bing that for you" on them.
Wow.
Like T-shirts.
They were trying.
Everyone knows Bing is only good for one thing, because of its algorithm.
What's the porn searching algorithm?
Jizz whaling.
Yep.
So I've been finding that out on accident. Because with doing all my drawings for Inktober here, I've been searching for reference images, and I just use Bing out of habit a lot of times from my time working at Microsoft. Plus, you can't get these Bing rewards things, blah, blah, blah. Now I sound like I'm a Bing advertiser, so whatever.
Bing it for me.
The point is I have been using Bing, but like it doesn't matter.
This episode is brought to you.
It doesn't matter what if it's a female character. Like I will usually like the first row of image results will probably be whatever I'm looking for, and then after that it's just porn.
Fantastic.
You
Good
know,
job,
and then
Bing.
it's all like all the suggested searches are porn related. Like I tried to, what did I search for? Something with old Ben, okay? Because I wanted to find a picture of old Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I searched for old Ben, and I got a few pictures of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then just pages and pages of Ben 10 porn.
What? What? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that algorithm needs some work.
So, anyways, there we go. That's our sponsored show interruption from Bing, and now we're gonna move on to Destiny rules update that just came out today as of
Yeah.
recording.
Cutting edge journalism.
So it'll have been out for
A few days.
a few days by the time you actually hear this.
Boy, we're lucky if it's only a few. All right. So let's get to it. The first major rule, not an errata, not a card change, just a rule change, clarification, rule clarification, not a change.
Yeah, well, I guess because they've said that this was always intended to be the spirit of the rule, but it's not how they wrote it. So,
Yeah. Which happens. That's certainly understandable. If there's one thing gamers do, it's find loopholes.
So the first one is going to be the fact that now you can only replace one upgrade per round. I think it's one upgrade per character per round, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And okay, now on this point, when they say round, do they mean round or do they mean turn? Because
So
a round seems like a long time.
Actually, does it say round or turn? Or
I
is that
think
just what
it
we're
says
saying? 'Cause it should be
round.
turn.
I think in the article it says round, but I could be wrong. I could have mistyped.
Well, let's look at the actual rules thing.
Yes, let's. Sentence number 2, per round. Sentence 3, each round.
Because per round and per turn is a big difference.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Abuse
because
was coming with the
so
abuse was coming from FN and Awakening's Ray, where they would do more than one in the same turn.
well, no, because so a turn is
I go, you go.
no, a turn is from all your characters have not been activated yet, up until someone's claimed the battlefield, and the other player has passed. That's a turn.
That's not a round.
No,
Ooh.
Just general past experience leads me to think that the round should be longer than a turn.
That's what my inclination would be, unless the rules themselves explicitly
Yeah.
state that.
yeah, no. Basically, a round is taking an action. Okay.
Oh, what?
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
Together Destiny. That should be a turn. What is this crap?
Yeah, in fact, I think even in the Destiny tutorial
No,
video...
look at, I just control F'd round on the rulebook and it says the player who controls the battlefield takes the first action each round. A player may discard an upgrade already on a character to decrease the cost of a new upgrade. This is called replacing an upgrade and can only do this once per round. Okay, so that is in the thing. Upgrades can only be replaced once per round, but now apparently we don't. Okay. Each game is played over a series of rounds. Each round has two different phases: action phase and upkeep.
Sorry,
so the
yeah,
round
yeah,
is
the round is the whole thing. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I was getting confused. I was
Well,
considering the action
I mean,
phase
It's
is
it's
yeah,
not made
so-
terribly clear, especially with that wording.
Well,
it's
now I'm actually
confusing.
kind of surprised that it's limited once per round and not once per turn.
Well, that's why I wonder if they're
no.
wrong.
So a round. So a round is a turn, like you're thinking. Okay, so a round is what I was saying a turn was before. A round starts from the beginning of
upkeep.
upkeep happens at the end of the round, which is
Okay.
So you've done
Which is
so
ass
you've done
backwards.
so you've done upkeep. All your characters are all ready. They're not exhausted. You get your resources. Blah blah blah, and then a new round starts.
Right.
And then during the round,
You have
there's
turn.
the action phase. You take an action, I take an action. You take an action, I take an action.
Turns aren't even a thing.
Yeah, turn's not even a thing. Well,
Oh,
they
they alternate taking turns.
yeah. Whoever's doing an action, it's considered their
It's
turn,
their turn.
within the action phase.
Right. And I'm just saying, I thought it would just be limited to per turn, not per round, because in my experience, the replace abuse happened like on Ray, where you'd play a 2-cost card on Ray, get your extra action, then play a different 2-cost card, get a different action, and those cards you're playing have different effects, and you just keep stacking things on the same turn.
Yeah, that's what I was
Whereas
thinking.
it's not. It doesn't seem like you're like stacking on if I have to wait until you do something before I'm allowed to replace a thing again.
Yeah, I agree. I personally think this must.
Well,
have
I
been
think it's also
written wrong.
meant to help mitigate like the Sabine loop. Because I mean that's part of what that thing did. What that did, it was cycling weapons in and out, and so I'm sure that that's part of it too. So
Okay. We'll
And
see.
really-
Let's
and really-
edit it out so we don't sound like idiots.
yeah, and really, I mean, unless you're abusing it, how often are you doing it more than once?
Right.
You're not doing it more
Right.
than once around too often, unless you were, like I said, unless you're trying to abuse it.
Yeah.
Now, when you look, did it say once per round per character?
It did not say per character. I will read it in its entirety. This is the new text that was added. A player may discard an upgrade already on a character to decrease the cost of a new upgrade being played on that character by the cost of the discarded card. This is called replacing. Each player can only do this once per round. So it sounds like
okay, so it's
total,
not even per
not
character.
even on a character basis.
See, I wouldn't.
It does also clarify that if you already have 3 upgrades, you could ditch one and put a new one on at full price, and that's not a replacement. That's just playing an upgrade because you're not like getting a discount on it if you wanted to do it that way.
So another change besides that one that they made is they said that you can now do the discard to reroll action even if you have no dice in your dice pool, which will be helpful for things like now Sabine can't double running interference lock you down anymore because you can do the discard to reroll action, and then that breaks the loop, and then you go on from there.
Yeah, that clarification really just protects you against the running interference card.
Plus, I guess it's also kind of nice if you had dice that you liked, but you also wanted to get a card into your discard pile for some reason to interact with something else. Now you can just pitch it just to do it and say, I'm re-rolling 0 dice.
The next addition to the rules is thankfully not a ban list, and it's not even a restricted list. It's just character cards who have had their point values increased. I think that's a really interesting way to do it. I guess, my natural tendency would have been to either ban or restrict. I mean, no bans. There's nothing ban-worthy yet, but restricting certainly has been something that they've done with LCG when there's been something that was just broken.
Well, we'll see, but I mean, upping their point totals almost is in effect a restriction almost, because it now makes it so you can no longer run them as elites or pair them with some of the other characters that were making them be problems. Mm-hmm. So the ones that got bumped up were FN, went up to 12 and 15. Phasma's now 10 and 14.
The new Phasma.
Yes, the new Phasma.
The one
Phasma
that just
2.0.
came out.
Yeah. Who really was badass. Like, I thought she was undercosted too. I mean, even then I was like, geez. And then Poe got bumped up to 16 and 20 points.
And that's original Poe.
Yes, original Poe. And Unkar is 12 and 15 now.
I really like this because I like when Fantasy Flight rules updates just poop all over the meta. So people have to try and be creative again. I was honestly a little surprised they didn't reduce the point cost of some other characters like Jin Urso or K2SO.
Or like Finn, some of those ones that never see like Finn never sees any play. Really.
Yeah, sadly.
It'd be nice to maybe see his point total get dropped just a little bit to see if he can get slotted in some other places.
And I guess they're trying to minimize at all possible the amount of card text that is being altered, because that's just kind of annoying to the players to have to be like, oh wait, it doesn't actually, it's supposed to say something else. And so, they're trying to push back the things that are too powerful, not necessarily bring weak cards up to okayness, but would have been nice.
Mm-hmm. So just earlier today on the Discord, there was a little bit of a discussion, not a huge one, as to whether or not Unkar Plut needed to be put in this group. I mean, he is in a lot of decks.
Well, kind of here's the thing I feel about, here's kind of how I feel about it is, Unkar, I would have been, I think, I'm okay with the change, but I would have been okay had they not done it. But I think I understand why they did, because with the other nerfs, I think had they left Unkar priced as he was originally, then he just would have been basically, it would have been nothing but Unkar meta. I think we would have just seen him everywhere. So it was almost like when they were bringing everyone else down, they had to bring him down too, or else he would have just come to dominate everything then. That's my theory anyways. Maybe I'm totally wrong. And if I am, I'm sure someone will let me know.
What are you talking about? You're never wrong.
Well, I know this, but the people on the internet don't.
That's true. They've proven that. Never mind. All right. So that's it for the balance of the force list. I'll be interested to see how many more wind up on there over the course of Legacies. But
Yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping that here with Legacies, we've got new designers in on this. We've got, they've got a little bit more experience at pricing characters, and maybe we won't see quite as many miscosted characters in the future here. But
yeah.
It seems like the major design misses have been on character costing, and then a couple just stupid combos here and there, but mostly like I was saying, the ones that are undercosted become the problem, but the ones that are overcosted are just kind of sad, because then it's like, oh, that character's sitting in my binder, and I'm never going to play with them because it's just not going to be worth it.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the last section of the new rules update, and that's errata, like you were saying, actual changes to the wording on a card. And there aren't a lot, but they are significant, not the least of which is Vibro Knife, which I just had Joe Ritchie asking me, what are some good upgrades to look for? I'm like, Vibro Knife! And then the day after I said that, they brought out this change, and I think this is a really good change, because that's just
thematically the change fits Vibro Knife 2 way better.
Right.
So
Yeah.
now the big change now is that the unblockable damage only happens if you're resolving damage with the Vibro Knife die.
Or if you're using it to modify a die.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that would be resolving that die. Well, I mean...
you're resolving a different die.
Well, Okay, fine, yes. Fine, if you want to be all pedantic about it. So, yeah, basically, that die has to be involved in the resolution in some way. How's that, Joe?
That works.
Okay. So, and like I said, I think thematically that works better, because, I mean, it makes sense that damage from the Vibro Knife isn't blocked by shields.
Yeah.
But only if you're attacking with it real slow, because the shields turn the fast blade.
That's true. The slow blade penetrates the shield.
I feel like you're referencing something.
No.
I honestly just thought of the Clone Wars when they learn how to bypass droideka shields, because it's literally that. You just have to go really slow. I've got a feeling you two aren't referencing the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, it's from Dune. That the characters have.
I could have guessed.
The characters have
Yeah,
personal
you coulda.
shields, basically.
It sounded really like something where
Dooney.
you're like, ooh, that's so heady and mystical sounding, and then you think about it slightly longer, and you're like, no, it's not that cool.
Hey, Patrick Stewart said that.
I don't know about Patrick Stewart's hair in that movie, though, man. That's
What?
not so cool.
It's the same hair.
Doesn't he have like a? I thought I remember him having like a skullet kind of thing going on. Doesn't he like at the end though? Like when he's smuggler gurney, doesn't he have longer hair?
He's got a ponytail.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Otherwise it's just Patrick Stewart. He looks the same as he has for the last 40 years.
Yeah, exactly. Patrick Stewart with a ponytail. It's not right.
Okay.
That's all.
The
That's
line must be drawn
That's
here.
like some kind of like mirror universe Picard there.
That's when he has the sleeveless tunic, like in the comics. All right. All right. So Vibro Knife. We hardly knew thee.
Shields are useful again now. Huzzah.
Yay, shields.
I mean, you'll still be able to use Vibro Knife to bypass shields when you need to, but it isn't going to be a guaranteed always thing. Like, there's nothing worse than when you're playing like a blue hero deck that's like shield focused in some way, and then your opponent drops down a vibroblade, and you're just all
sometimes that works for you. If you have like Qui-Gon or New Rey, and they're ignoring all your shields, then you get to use their abilities that say if you have shields, you get to do stuff. So you're like, well, I always have shields because they're not removing them from me.
Fair enough.
And then it becomes a weakness. Because they're like, I wish I could get rid of those shields.
Yeah. I still feel like the benefit isn't worth the cost, though.
Right. That's like an edge case.
So let's see. What else do we got? Imperial Inspection is now no longer out forever. Up your Christmas from now till the end of the game. It is.
What did that used to do, and what does it do
So
now?
what it did was you could use it to pull an upgrade that cost 2 or less off the board. I think, did it put it back in your hand? Or did you discard it? I forget.
I think it went back in your hand.
But either way, it was. But now you use it once, and then the card is set aside. It's removed from the game. Imperial Inspection is, so it's a one and done.
Okay, I was going to get that clarification from you. It says set aside. I guess I was looking for something like removed from the game or
set
exile.
aside. I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. Set aside is basically Destiny language for exile.
Perfect. Got it. Makes sense.
It should have been like put into carbon freeze or
Ooh.
some Star Warsy term.
There you go.
Because there's exiled. That's a magic-y thing.
Yeah.
In
Frozen.
Boomtown, cards that are aced get sent to Boot Hill, and they're out of the game. Yeah, it needs some kind of stuck to the ceiling of the Wampa Cave.
We know how that works. All right, we got another one. It's a trap. So it's not an ambush card anymore, and it can only turn up to 2 red dice. Dices.
Dice.
Yeah, because old school It's a Trap could basically win you a game.
Mm-hmm.
So the old one had ambush, and so what you did is you would choose a symbol that one of your opponent's dice is showing, and then you turn any number of your red dice to sides showing that symbol, which meant if you had 5-6 dice in your pool, all of a sudden you flip them all to range damage, and then with ambush you resolve it all, you'd one shot anything out there.
Ugh, that's rough. Jeez.
So, but at the same time, it does kind of suck that got nerfed, since it seems like a lot of the nerfs that are happening here were to make Hero a little bit more viable, and so this one though is a nerf to Hero. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with it, because a well-timed It's a Trap, like I said, could one-shot most anything out there. So yeah, so now no more ambush, and you can only flip 2 dice instead of any number of your dice. And then last but not least is, what do we got? The Heat of Battle change?
Yep.
So let's see, what happened here? So this one changed again, so instead of being any number of dice, it's gone to flipping 2 dice. Because what it used to be is your opponent would turn any number of their dice to sides showing damage, and then you turned any number of yours to sides showing damage. And again, for some of the same reasons, it's you being able to flip everything to damage could be cause for some one-shot situations.
Yeah.
So it's
That's a good change. That's definitely a good change.
Yeah, and I think with this one, it's not as much of a needed change, but the biggest problem was the fact that you could use it to, if you timed it right, like say they had no dice in their pool, well, then they can't flip any dice to damage, so, and you can suddenly turn all of yours. But I don't know. I didn't feel like this one was as big of a change, but I'm okay with the change, but I don't know. I'm neutral towards this one.
You're neither a hero nor a villain.
Neither.
Great.
I'm a druid.
All right, well, that wraps up the rules update, and I think at least for now, unless they drop something else on us, but I don't think we're going to get quite as much Destiny news in such short order as we did this time. Next week,
especially not with all the X-Wing and Legion news.
Oh gosh,
that happened to drop now too. That we didn't have time for in this episode. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess we know what our next episode's going to be then. So with that,
binder review.
Oh, sweet. Oh, we got to wait for Joe to make his video review of the Destiny binder. That'll be great.
If they send us one, I will.
You're not just going to go out and buy it with our Patreon funds?
I don't think that would be a prudent use of that.
Nope, I agree with you. Completely.
Yeah, that would be a misappropriation.
That falls under fraud, waste, and abuse, I think. All right. Any other final thoughts on anything, or did we hit everything and possibly we could have wanted? I think we did. I think it was
San Dimas High School football rules.
Yep. He loves San Dimas. All right. We're going to wrap this sucker up. Does anybody want to do it, or shall I? I can't tell if our connection dropped with Joe or not, but...
No, I'm just...
All right.
I haven't had much
All
to
right,
say.
so like we said at the beginning of the show, our patrons are very important to us. They are what lets us keep going with this, and they make the show happen. If you would like to contribute as well, you can find us at patreon.com/JodoCast. There you can check out the various rewards that we do give out to our patrons. And, if you do decide to make a donation, thank you. I guess. No, you can cut out the I guess part, because I don't guess. I know I'm thanking you for it. We also have on our website a new feedback survey for our listeners, and that, of course, is at jodocast.com. I believe there's a link for the survey right at the top. Correct, Joe?
Yes, it is at the top of the website.
Yes. Go there and give us your thoughts. Feedback, if there's something you don't like, something you do like, want to see more of, this is one of the ways to let us know. This helps us shape our show. But if you don't want to do that, but still want to give us your feedback, you can always find us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at those various websites /the JodoCast. You can also talk with us at our subreddit r/the JodoCast or on our Discord channel, and there's always links to that in the show description. And of course, you can always listen to us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, watch our videos on YouTube, and use our RSS feed to plug it into whatever pod catcher majigger you use.
Awesome.
I did
Fantastic.
good, right?
You did excellently. I'm very proud of you.
That'll do, pig.
I think that's the one that we should record and use for perpetuity. All right. Anything else?
Oh, yes, I do have one other thing. If you have been, I don't know what the adjective is, loyal enough, bored enough to listen this far, I was mentioning earlier in the show that I was playing Destiny in Minneapolis with my friend John, who's also been a guest on the Knights of Ren, I think. But in any case, he gave me some promo cards to give away. So if you... I just thought of this on the spot, so I'm trying to think of the best way
No
to do
script.
this. Come to our Discord and...
Let us know that the dice makers are out of luck with frequently iced manifolds.
Yeah, post that in the Lupin Chewy channel on our Discord, and the first couple people who do that will get some promo stuff, like Electroshock promos or TIE Fighters or something like that. Thanks to John for that.
Oh, there's Seth. Well, he's got a head start on it, so you may have a winner. We'll see. All right, cool. Anything else? Hearing nothing. I think that's going to do it. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our patrons. Thanks to everyone in chat. And we will see you... No, you won't. You never see us. You'll hear us next time.